La Voisin's Sin. Catherine de Chaise was another name for Catherine Monvois, who was also known as La Voisin. She lived from around 1640 until the 22nd of February 1680. Catherine de Chaise's childhood is mostly unknown. She married Antoine Monvoisin, a silk and jewelry dealer with a business at Pont-Rue in Paris. She was a French fortune teller in the 1670s who offered poison, aphrodisiacs, abortion, alleged sorcery, and gathering black masses. She is said to have sacrificed babies. At the age of 9, she mastered the art of fortune-telling. La Voisin said that all she had done was develop the skills that God had already gifted her with as a fortune-teller. She improved her ability by researching contemporary physiology and discovered how to predict people's fates by looking at their hands and faces. When her husband's trading company ended in bankruptcy, she made a living by giving services of alleged magic to fulfill her clients' wishes for a high price. She provided for a family of 6, including her mother, her husband, and her kids. La Voisin, who served the high society of France, had gained wealth and recognition by the late 1660s. She invested a lot of money to create an environment where her clients would be more likely to believe her prophecies. La Voisin saw patterns in her clients' wishes for the future. Almost everyone wished for love, for someone to die so they might inherit, or for their spouses to pass away so they could marry someone else. At first, she assured her customers that their request would be granted if it was God's will. She then started advising her customers on how to take certain steps in order to achieve their desires. Later, she began to sell amulets and eventually began recommending an increasing number of allegedly magical items or rituals of various types. Her fortune-telling business gradually transformed into a career of claim dark magic. The Congregation of the Mission at St. Vincent de Paul's organization investigated her prophecy in 1665 or 1666. La Voisin was under investigation, but she was able to defend herself and was given permission to continue her profession. For women who were having love issues, she also offered magical services. She created love powders for clients who want that someone falls in love with them. She had been successful in placing young girls among the ladies in waiting at the royal court. The reported components of the love powders created by La Voisin were toad, bones, Spanish fly, iron filings, mole teeth, human blood, mummy dust, and human remains. According to the tale, La Voisin had been selling potions with magical properties to several clients for a period of years. La Voisin eventually transitioned from allegedly supernatural potions, amulets, and rituals to selling aphrodisiacs to those who sought to fall in love with them and giving lethal poison to those who intended to die. La Voisin had a network of poison suppliers working for her, including the pharmacist Catherine Trianon, and offered a wide array of poisons to her customers. Giulia Tofana, an Italian female professional poisoner who worked for a few decades before La Voisin, contributed to the art of poisoning's development into a recognized science at the time. She was involved in the infamous Affaire des Poisons. She served as the center of a global poison trade that extended to Spain and Italy. Her clients included members of the aristocracy. On January 1673, the Paris police conducted an investigation after receiving complaints from a number of priests that some of the persons they had spoken to in the confessional box had mentioned using poison to get rid of dishonest or undesired partners. It was reported that 1,000 people perished from poisoning brought on by her claimed sorcery, while it's possible that as many as 2,500 people perished. The Black Mass, which she organized for customers for a fee and during which the client might pray to Satan for their wish to come true, was her most expensive and extremely recommended practice. Some of these masses had a lady acting as an altar upon which a bowl was set. A baby was held above the bowl, and its blood was spilled into the bowl. It's unclear if the baby that was engaged in this incident was indeed dead or whether the baby was just stillborn. She had other associates working for her, most notably Adam Lesage, the magician who helped organize and take part in her professional magic services. Adam Lesage, who was rumored to have been one of her lovers, attempted to convince her at one time to murder her husband, but she later changed her mind and stopped him. She also practiced as a midwife, which grew into performing abortions for unwanted pregnancies. La Voisin is said to have begun offering abortions for profit as part of her midwifery services, which were illegal at the time. She succeeded in attracting wealthy aristocracy as clients. She had a group of abortionists working for her, including Catherine Lepre. Marie Boss, a poisoner who was her competitor, alleged that late-term abortion victims were buried in her garden after being burnt in a furnace at the home of La Voisin. Marie Boss's allegations, however, remain unproven since Louis XIV directed that the division of La Voisin's business that dealt with abortions should not be further investigated. In 1667, Madame de Montespan, the most prominent client of La Voisin, allegedly recruited La Voisin to organize a black mass, which was held in a home on Rue de la Tannerie. Montespan was attempting to win the king's love, and in the same year, she was appointed the official royal mistress of French King Louis XIV. La Voisin gave Montespan a love potion, which he used on the king while under her spell. When she encountered a challenge in her relationship with the king, she sought the advice of La Voisin. In 1673, it seemed that the king's interest in Montespan was waning. She once again hired La Voisin. Montespan herself served as the human altar at least once during the mass headed over by Etienne Guybourg, a French Roman Catholic abbot who practiced occultism. In 1677, Montespan made it clear that she would have the king killed if he betrayed her. In 1679, Montespan approached La Voisin and urged her to plan the murder of both The king and Angelique de Fontanges in reaction to their romance. She was reluctant at first, but she eventually agreed. La Voisin, together with the poisoners, planned a scheme to poison a petition that would be handed directly to the king. Trianon wasn't interested in taking part and made an effort to get her to think twice, but Voisin was certain about her decision. On March 5, 1679, La Voisin sent the appeal to the royal court at Saint-Germain. However, their strategy was unsuccessful since there were too many petitioners that day, and the king refused to accept their pleas. When she got back to her apartment in Paris, she was reprimanded by a group of monks. She handed the petition to her daughter Marguerite Montvoisin and told her to burn it, which is exactly what she did. She decided to meet Trianon the following day after Mass in order to arrange her second murder attempt on Louis XIV. On March 12, 1679, immediately before she met Catherine Trianon and after attending Mass, she was arrested outside Notre Dame de Bonne Nouvelle. She was accused by Marie Boss, who became the reason for her arrest in 1679. Boss went to a party organized by her friend Marie Vigerot. She became intoxicated at the party and shamelessly claimed that she would soon be able to retire because she had accumulated such fortune by selling lethal poisons to aristocrats. Marie Boss made the mistake of selling some poison to a police officer undercover. Marie Boss and Marie Vigerot, two successful fortune tellers and poisoners, were arrested in January 1679. The authorities learned about an organization of fortune tellers in Paris. She started naming French nobles after being interrogated extensively. The investigation revealed solid proof that poisons were being sold, and as a consequence, several sellers were arrested and a considerable amount of their stock was found. On December 27, 1679, Louis XIV commanded that the whole organization, regardless of position, sex, or age, be abolished. When La Voisin was arrested, her maid Margot warned that many individuals at all social levels will perish as a result of the arrest. Her daughter Marguerite Montvoisin and every other member of her organization were also arrested. La Voisin was detained at Vincennes, where she was interrogated. Gabriel Nicolas de la Reynie, first Lieutenant General of Police of Paris, served as the court's judge where the infamous poisoning cases were heard. He was in charge of the 3-year investigation. A secret Star Chamber court with no appeal rights was established by the king on the basis of her charges in April 1679. La Voisin was one of the first individuals in prison following the establishment of the Star Chamber. La Voisin, who was known to have an alcohol problem, was kept intoxicated during their interrogation. She denied the allegation that she removed the fetuses from the pregnant women's bodies using needles filled with fatal substances and buried them in the garden. She also denied allegations that she had used her oven to burn aborted baby bones that were too big for the garden grave. She further denied ever poisoning anyone. She confirmed that there are countless people involved in this horrible business and that it is prevalent in Paris. but she refused to name any further clients or to confess that she had organized or participated in dark masses. La Voisin denied ever having Montespan as a client. She once confessed to the guards that she feared being questioned about her trips to the royal court the most. She was probably referring to Montespan, her client, and her unsuccessful attempt to kill the king. She probably feared that if she confessed, she may be put to death for attempting to kill the king. According to witness testimony, La Voisin and Madame de Montespan first met in 1665. She has been suspected of being engaged in the infamous affaire des poisons. Madame de Montespan allegedly went so far as to let a priest, Tien Gaiborg, conduct a black mass over her naked body. She served as an altar, as a baby was slit in the neck with a knife, and its blood was then spilled into the bowl to produce a special potion for the king. The witch and Madame de Montespan would summon the devil to win the king's affection. They do this to show their gratitude for her request. The baby's corpse would next be crushed, and the mashed bones and drained blood would be added to the concoction. Food served to the king was tainted for more than 13 years. There is a rumor that the remains of 500 babies were found buried in La Voisin's garden. Although this allegation is still up for debate, there is no proof that the garden search really took place. She was legally interviewed while being tortured in the days after her judgment and up to her execution, and according to the official record, she was tortured to the point of begging for mercy. La Voisin was witnessed by Madame de Sévigné just prior to her execution. She was described as being able to walk so freely and as appearing to be in such good health that it did not seem likely that she had been tortured. La Voisin never endured any form of torture, even if a court order authorizing its use had been issued. It was made clear that it was not to be put into effect. Gabriel Nicolas de la Reynie claimed that La Voisin was never really tortured. It was implied that this was done out of concern that, if she were interrogated under pressure, she may reveal the identities of influential people. The last interrogations revealed nothing significant. The trial for La Voisin began on February 17, 1680. On the 22nd of February 1680, La Voisin was convicted of witchcraft and burnt alive in public on the Place de Grève in Paris. On the way to her execution, she is alleged to have pushed the priest aside. When she was attached to the stake, she allegedly struggled to remove the hay that had gathered around her. When she passed away, her role inside the dark masses was unknown. In July, her daughter Marguerite Monvoisin revealed that she was connected to Montespan, and the other suspects' confessions supported this information. As a result, information about her clients, the gathering of the dark masses, her association with Montespan, and the king's attempted murder became widely known. Madame de Montespan was never found guilty of the accusations. Uncertainties in the evidence, however, suggest that the royal mistress was innocent of these charges. As a result, the king decided to end the investigation. The testimony was sealed, and the other suspects were imprisoned under a lettre de cachette to keep them out of the public justice system. The end.